Right folks, it's Friday and there's really only one place we can kick things off today. Last night Celtic dropped a teaser, a wee glimpse of what seems to be our new kit for the upcoming season. Now they just said tomorrow in the caption, so it's looking like we'll get the full reveal today. But that tiny teaser, just a flash of white and a bold orange. Barely anything but enough to set tongues wagging. And I'll be honest, the first thing that crossed my mind was this might actually be the first time since around 2007 that we've had a proper kit reveal without the thing leaking all over the place beforehand. But turns out I was being a bit too optimistic because the legends over at Footy Headlines, who always seem to be in the know, have already leaked it. They're calling it the third kit for the new season, and to be fair, they're nearly always bang on with this sort of stuff. So what are we looking at here? Well, brace yourself. The kit's wild. If you saw the sponsorless version floating around online, that's just a taste. The proper version, the one with the sponsor on it, that daffodil logo splashed across the front, is something else entirely. Now listen, I'm not here to slate it for the sake of it. I'm actually kind of into it. That shade of green they've used, a really light, almost minty green, is actually quite striking. I like it, especially paired with the shorts. It gives off serious pool sit intensify vibes. You know what I mean? I can already picture it. You're on holiday somewhere half decent. Doesn't even need to be the Canaries. Just somewhere with sun and a pool and someone's strutting about wearing this kit. And even though it's not officially out yet, it's got that holiday leisure wear energy. Whether or not it passes as an actual football kit though is another story. Now let's talk about the orange. Honestly, I don't mind it. It works surprisingly well with that pale green. The problem, and I know I'm not the only one thinking this, is the pattern. From a distance, maybe if you squint a wee bit, it kind of comes together. But up close, it's a bit of a mess. Footy Headlines are calling it a TD hoop pattern, which is fair enough, I suppose. But to my eyes, it looks more like smudges or stains than anything intentional. It's just not a very tidy design. And I know we've had controversial kits in the past. Remember that home kit from a couple of seasons ago, that split opinion right down the middle? Yeah, this one gives me a bit of deja vu. The thing with hoops, and I've said this before, is that they don't need to be reinvented. Keep them simple, clean, traditional. That's what makes them iconic. And when clubs start experimenting with them, especially in the home kit, it doesn't always go down well. But if you're going to mess about and try something outlandish, the third kit's the place to do it. It's your wild card, your statement piece, and this one certainly makes a statement. So here's the thing, and this might surprise you. I don't hate it. I don't even strongly dislike it. It's not clean, it's not elegant, and it's definitely not what I'd call classic. But there's something about it. Maybe it's just so out there that it works. Maybe I'm just a sucker for something a bit outrageous. I can kind of see myself picking it up, not because I think it's a masterpiece, but because it might just become iconic in its own mad way. Like, you know, the ones that look ridiculous at first, then 10 years later everyone's digging them out of the wardrobe and saying, you know what, that was actually class. It's got that sort of potential. But look, it's going to split opinion, no doubt about it. Most of you watching this are probably thinking that's absolutely honking, and I get that. I really do. I'm still not sold on the TD hoops myself, but the colors are bold. They pop, and if you squint just a wee bit, you might start to come around to it. So now with this third kit effectively out there, even if not officially confirmed just yet, we've got a decent idea of what Celtic will be wearing this season. There's the home kit, the away, and now this third option. The homes, the only one that's actually been launched properly as I record this, but like I said, the club's clearly gearing up to drop this third one any minute now. And just to refresh your memory, the home kit's your standard green and white hoops, clean and classic. The away kit, which I might have gotten into a bit of trouble for calling the bumblebee, well, let's just say it leans into that black and yellow vibe, narrow stripes and all. As for the third, like I said, you really just have to go online and see it for yourself, cause there's no easy way to describe it. It's chaos in the best and worst ways. Anyway, let's move on to who might actually be wearing this wild third kit in the months ahead, cause there's been a fair bit happening on the transfer front. Benjamin Nigren has touched down in Scotland, and it looks like everything's lined up for his move. Reports say it's going to be a 4-year contract with the option for a 5th, which is pretty much in line with what Celtic's been doing lately. Long-term deals, plenty of security. Sometimes that works out brilliantly, other times you end up with players kicking about the reserves with years still left on their contracts. We've seen that story before. Nigren's announcement could come any day now. There was some chat earlier in the week that the club might wait until July to officially unveil him, maybe due to contract dates or some admin stuff like that. End of June is when most contracts expire after all. But since we're actually paying a fee for him and not just picking him up on a free, there's no real reason to delay. If the club wants to drop the announcement today, go for it. Either way, he's here and he'll be part of the squad heading into pre-season. Now whether he's involved from day one is another question. Brendan Rodgers has a bit of a pattern of giving the international lads a wee bit of extra rest after summer duty, so don't be surprised if Nygren gets a few days off to recharge. His last game for Sweden was on the 10th of June, so it's not been too long. But there'll be press stuff, photos, the usual new signing fanfare, so we'll see how quickly he's back on the pitch. And speaking of pre-season, Celtic are back in training early next week, and the first friendly is just a week away against Queen's Park. If last year's anything to go by, don't expect to see the full first team straight away. That first game will likely be a mix of youth players and squad members who haven't been away on international duty. I remember going to the Ayr United game last summer, and it was a similar setup, mostly kids with a few senior players sprinkled in. Quant got a run out, and I think even Nicholas started that one. I'd expect the same again this year. Maybe Callum McGregor gets back in for the Queen's Park game, but I doubt we'll see the full strength 11 until the squad heads off to Portugal. Even then, some of the players might still be missing. Alistair Johnston, for example, might not be back by then, depending on his international commitments. But he joins Kieran Tierney and Ross Doohan as part of the incoming group. Callum O'Sullivan is set to be announced soon as well. He's already been to Lennoxtown, so that deal is basically done. Wouldn't be shocked if we get a double unveiling with Nigrin and O'Sullivan, assuming it doesn't mess up the club's social media schedule too much. Now, just a wee note on Callum O'Sullivan and how his arrival might shake things up. A few folk are starting to ask what that means for Johnny Kenny, and it's a fair question. From where I'm sitting, O'Sullivan is coming in to be our third-choice striker. That's not the kind of signing you make just to send him back out on loan straight away. So realistically, you're not carrying for strikers at that level. It feels very much like it's going to be O'Sullivan or Kenny and not both, and I've got a feeling based on what's going around that Kenny might be the one moving on. There was a report just last night saying we knocked back a bid of £500,000 from Bolton Wanderers for him. Apparently the offer was way below our valuation, and while we're not desperate to sell him, we might be open to a loan move later in the window. Bolton are expected to come back in with a better bid, but we'll see what happens there. Look, I like Johnny Kenny. There's something about him, great attitude, good composure, like when he stepped up and buried that penalty against Aberdeen. But I've got to be honest, I don't see where the minutes are going to come from for him this season. Even if we don't sign another striker, which I think we still might, he's still behind O'Sullivan and probably behind Days and Maida in the pecking order. So if he's going to be fourth choice, then a loan move makes sense. Let him go somewhere and get games, get sharp, keep developing. I'd rather that than have him sitting on the bench or not even making the squad every week. It's a situation to keep an eye on, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if we see him head out before the end of the window. And then there's Greg Taylor. This one's been dragging on forever, hasn't it? But it looks like we've finally got closure. Reports say he's off to PAOK in Greece. They've been in talks with him for a good while now, and it should be officially announced on Monday. Celtic will no doubt post their farewell messages and thank you tweets, and it'll all feel a bit formal, but I've got to say I really rate what Greg gave us over the years. He was a crucial part of a very successful Celtic side, especially under Ange Postecoglou. He's one of those players who maybe doesn't get all the headlines, but he did his job, put in a shift, and played with heart. It's just a wee bit disappointing that he didn't get the send-off he deserved in front of the fans. No proper goodbye like Rogic or Joe Hart had, but that's football, I suppose. And speaking of farewells, another young left-back, Matthew Anderson, looks to be on his way out. I was literally just saying last week how I thought he could be a decent backup option to Kieran Tierney, especially if we're always going on about giving youth a chance. But turns out his contract's up and he's heading off to Belgium on a free. Fair play to him. I hope he kicks on there and makes a name for himself. So that's where we're at right now. Transfers bubbling away, pre-season about to kick off, new kits dropping. It's all starting to move quickly. Celtic will be back in action against Queen's Park in just 1 week's time, and while it might not be the first team out there, it's still Celtic and it's still the start of the new chapter. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are growing louder around Glasgow's East End, and the Parkhead faithful might just have a new name to chant soon. Word on the wind is that Celtic have allegedly secured the signature of none other than AJAX's highly rated forward, Brian Brobby, a bold move if true, and one that could send shockwaves through Scottish football. While no official unveiling has taken place at Lennoxtown yet, several sources close to the club suggest that the deal is all but done. Brobby, just 23, has long been touted as one of the Eredivisie's brightest attacking talents, known for his physical presence, blistering pace, and clinical eye for goal. He could be exactly the sort of figurehead Brendan Rodgers needs to lead the line as Celtic look to reinforce their domestic dominance and make a deeper push in Europe. What's fueling the speculation even more is Brobby's recent absence from AJAX's pre-season squad. Though officially labelled as rest and recovery, insiders hint that the young striker may be preparing for a fresh start north of the border. And let's face it, Paradise has seen stranger arrivals financially. It would mark one of Celtic's most ambitious moves in recent memory. Brobby won't have come cheap, with AJAX said to have valued the striker highly. But with Champions League group stage revenue in the bank and the Hoops board keen to back Rodgers in his second spell, the timing feels just right for a headline signing. Naturally, fans are divided. Some are calling it a game changer, while others are cautious, questioning whether Brobby can adapt to the physicality of Scottish football and the intensity of Old Firm derbies. Still, his pedigree speaks volumes: stints at RB Leipzig, a strong goal record in the Dutch league, and youth caps for the Netherlands. For now, Celtic Park remains quiet, at least officially, but if the rumours bear fruit, and Brian Brobby is indeed on his way to Glasgow, the boys might have just pulled off the coup of the summer. One thing's for certain: the green half of the city will be watching closely, waiting for that first glimpse of their potential new No. 9 walking out under the lights of paradise. Hello fan, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.